If anyone ever offers you success without struggle, be careful. I didn't ask enough questions. I didn't think about the consequences. And now, I live every day with something I remove, and things I can escape.
I should have known better than to trust desperation. My name is Lami, and 3 weeks ago, I was just another struggling student at the University of Lagos, buried under textbooks I barely understood and exam dates that haunted my sleep. My parents had sold their land to send me here. My father's hands, rough from years of farming, had shaken as he handed me the envelope of money. My mother had whispered prayers over my head, begging God to make their sacrifice worth it. But I was failing. Not just struggling, failing. Economics made no sense to me. The numbers danced across the pages like cruel jokes, and my lecturers spoke in riddles I couldn't decode. I had 2 weeks until my final exams, and I knew with certainty that I would disgrace my family. That's when Bola mentioned the herbalist. Bola was my roommate, the kind of girl who always seemed to glide through life while others stumbled. She never studied, yet her results were always excellent. She wore expensive clothes our stipends couldn't afford. She had answers before questions were asked. I had always wondered about her, but I was too focused on my own drowning to ask how she stayed afloat. One night, she found me crying over my textbooks. She sat beside me on my bed, and for the first time since we'd become roommates, she looked at me with something like pity. She told me about Baba Ifa, a herbalist in her village who could help students like me. She said he had helped her, and look how well she was doing. She said he lived just 3 hours away, in a small village beyond Ikorodu. She said she would take me there herself. I should have asked more questions. I should have wondered why she was being so kind. But desperation makes you stupid, and I was desperate enough to drink poison if someone promised it would cure me. We left on a Saturday morning. Bola's boyfriend, Deo, drove us in his old Honda that coughed black smoke. The city gave way to smaller towns, then to red dirt roads lined with palm trees. The villages we passed looked like they existed in a different time. Mud houses with zinc roofs, old women selling vegetables by the roadside, children running barefoot through the dust. Baba Ifa's compound sat at the edge of the village, surrounded by a fence of twisted branches. The house itself was small and dark, with wooden masks hanging on the walls and the smell of herbs so strong it made my eyes water. He was an old man, his face marked with deep tribal scars, his eyes cloudy with age. Bola explained my problem to him in Yoruba, speaking so fast I could barely follow. He looked at me for a long time, his cloudy eyes somehow seeing right through me. Then he nodded slowly. He told me the charm would cost 15,000 naira. It was almost all the money I had left for the month, but I paid it. He disappeared into a back room and returned with a small leather pouch on a red string. He tied it around my wrist, muttering words I didn't understand. The pouch felt warm against my skin, almost alive. He gave me only one instruction: never remove the charm and never tell anyone where I got it. The drive back felt different. The pouch pulsed with a gentle heat, and I felt something shifting in my mind, like doors opening in rooms I didn't know existed. Bola seemed pleased with herself, smiling as she chatted with Deo. I sat in the back seat, holding my wrist, feeling the strange warmth spread through my body. That night, I opened my economics textbook, and for the first time, everything made sense. The numbers aligned themselves into patterns. The concepts clicked into place like puzzle pieces. I studied until dawn, absorbing everything, understanding everything. It was miraculous. But miracles always have a price. I saw my first ghost 3 days later. I was walking to class when I noticed an old woman standing by the science building. She wore a faded wrapper and headscarf, and she was staring at me with desperate eyes. I looked away, uncomfortable with her intensity, but when I looked back, she was closer, much closer. She opened her mouth as if to speak, and that's when I noticed it. I could see the wall through her body. She wasn't solid. She was transparent, like smoke trying to hold a human shape. I ran until my lungs burned, until I reached my hostel room and slammed the door behind me. Bola wasn't there. I sat on my bed, shaking, telling myself I had imagined it. Stress, I thought. Just stress and exhaustion playing tricks on my mind. But that night, I saw more of them. They gathered outside my window, men, women, children. Some looked fresh, like they had just died. Others were barely human anymore, their forms twisted and faded. They all stared at me with the same desperate hunger, pressing against the glass, their mouths moving in silent pleas. I couldn't sleep. I lay in my bed, the charm burning against my wrist, watching the dead watch me. In the morning, they were still there. And now I could see them everywhere, walking through walls, standing in corners, following students who couldn't see them. The campus was full of ghosts. The city was full of ghosts. They were everywhere, and only I could see them. I tried to remove the charm, but the knot wouldn't budge. I pulled until my wrist bled, but the leather string held firm, as if it had grown into my skin. The exams came, and I passed them brilliantly. I answered every question perfectly, my mind sharp and clear. But I took my papers in a room full of the dead. They sat in empty chairs, they stood by the windows, they watched me write with empty eyes. After the exams, I thought about going back to Baba Ifa, demanding he remove the charm. But I was afraid. Afraid of what he might do, afraid of what refusing might cost me. So I tried to live with it instead. I tried to ignore the ghosts that followed me everywhere. It was bearable, barely, until the night I saw the ghost in my room. I woke to the feeling of being watched. Bola's bed was empty. She often spent nights at Deo's place. But I wasn't alone. A young girl stood at the foot of my bed, maybe 17 or 18 years old. She wore a yellow dress, and unlike the other ghosts, she looked almost solid, almost real. She pointed at me, then at Bola's bed, then at herself. Over and over. Point, point, point. I wanted to scream, but fear had locked my throat shut. The girl came closer, and I could see her face clearly now. She was pretty, with soft features and sad eyes. She looked familiar somehow, though I couldn't place where I'd seen her before. She leaned close, her cold breath on my face, and whispered a single word, Bola. Then she pointed to the space under Bola's bed. I didn't want to look. Every instinct in me screamed to look away, to close my eyes, to run. But the ghost girl wouldn't leave. She kept pointing, kept whispering Bola's name, kept staring at me with those desperate eyes. When morning came and Bola still hadn't returned, I gathered my courage.
Ich knelt beside Bola's bed, my hands shaking so badly I could barely move.
I reached under the bed frame, feeling along the floor, finding nothing at first. Then my fingers touched something that shouldn't have been there. A loose floorboard. I pried it up, and the smell that hit me made me gag. Inside the hollow space beneath the floor was a small bag, the same kind Baba Ifa had given me. But this one was different. It was surrounded by photographs of students I recognized from campus. And beside each photograph was something else. Hair.
Fingernails.
Small pieces of jewelry. And in the center of it all was a photograph of a girl in a yellow dress. The same girl who stood behind me now, her cold presence raising goosebumps on my arms. I pulled out one of the photographs and saw the name written on the back, Kemi. That's when I remembered. Kemi had been a student here last year, a brilliant girl who everyone said would graduate with first-class honors. She had disappeared one night, just vanished from her room without a trace. The police had searched but found nothing. The ghost girl, Kemi, nodded slowly when I looked at her. I went through the other photographs, my stomach turning with each one. Tund, who had died in a car accident. Ao, who had drowned. Saad, who had gotten sick and never recovered. All of them had been excellent students. All of them had died or disappeared within months of their success. And all of them had been Bola's classmates. The truth settled over me like cold water. Bola hadn't been lucky. She hadn't been naturally gifted. She had been stealing from these students, stealing their success, their intelligence, their lives. And Baba Ifa had helped her do it. The charm on my wrist burned hotter than ever, and I finally understood. This wasn't a charm for exam success. It was something else entirely. Bola had given it to me to mark me, to prepare me to become the next photograph in her collection. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Bola was coming back. I shoved everything back under the floorboard, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. When Bola opened the door, I was sitting on my bed, pretending to study. She smiled at me, that same kind smile that had fooled me before. She asked how my exams had gone. I told her they went well, forcing my voice to stay steady. She seemed pleased. She said she knew they would, that Baba Ifa never failed. Then she told me she was planning to go back to the village next weekend, and maybe I should come along to thank him properly. I said I would think about it. That night, I didn't sleep. Kemi stood in the corner of the room, watching Bola sleep, her transparent hands clenched into fists. Other ghosts joined her, Tund, Ao, Saad, and more I didn't recognize. They filled the room with their cold presence, all of them staring at Bola with hatred so intense it made the air thick. They wanted justice. They wanted revenge. And somehow, they thought I could give it to them. I spent the next day researching, using the university library computers to dig through old news articles and police reports. Kemi's disappearance had been investigated, but the case had gone cold. Her family had offered rewards, had begged for information, but no one had come forward. The other deaths had been ruled as accidents or natural causes. But I knew better now. I tried to go to the police, but what could I tell them? That ghosts had shown me evidence of murder? That my roommate was using dark magic to steal people's success? They would laugh me out of the station, or worse, think I was insane. I needed proof. Real proof. Evidence the police couldn't ignore. The ghosts helped me. Kemi led me to places I wouldn't have thought to look. She showed me a storage unit Bola rented off campus, pointing at the lock until I understood. That night, I followed Bola there, watched her enter the code, 2-7-0-3. When she left, I went in. The unit was full of personal belongings that didn't belong to Bola. Bags, clothes, phones, laptops. All of them tagged with names and dates. A trophy collection of her victims. And in the back, wrapped in black cloth, I found Kemi's body. I vomited right there, my whole body shaking. But Kemi's ghost stood beside her own corpse, calm and patient, and I knew what I had to do. I called the police anonymously, giving them the location and the code. Then I went back to my room and waited. They arrested Bola the next morning. I watched through my window as they led her away in handcuffs, her face twisted with rage and confusion. She screamed at them, demanded to know who had reported her, swore she had done nothing wrong. When her eyes met mine through the window, I saw the moment she understood. The betrayal, the shock, and beneath it all, the calculation. She was already planning, already thinking of ways to escape, to get revenge. But the ghosts had other plans. That night in her cell, Bola saw them for the first time. All of her victims, gathered around her, their eyes full of the same cold hunger the ghosts had shown me. I know because I saw it too. My charm let me see everything, even from a distance. I watched as they closed in on her, as her screams echoed through the police station. The guards found her in the morning, huddled in the corner, her mind shattered. She kept screaming about dead people, about hands reaching for her, about eyes that wouldn't stop watching. They transferred her to a psychiatric hospital, where she still is now, still screaming about the ghosts only she can see. Baba Ifa was arrested too. The police found more evidence in his compound: bones, photographs, charms like mine. Other students came forward with stories like mine, confessing to deals they had made. The herbalist confessed to everything, his voice flat and emotionless, as if he had been waiting for this day. And me? I'm still wearing this charm. I've tried everything to remove it, but it won't come off. I see the dead every day now, everywhere I go. They follow me, they watch me, they whisper things I don't always want to hear. But Kemi and the others are gone now. They got their justice, and they moved on to wherever the dead go when they're finally at peace. Sometimes I think I see Kemi in the corner of my eye, but when I turn, there's nothing there. Just an empty space where her ghost used to stand. I passed my exams. I even got good grades, though I'm not sure how much of that was the charm and how much was genuine understanding. My parents were so proud. They don't know the price I paid for that success. I am in my final year now. I study hard, I get good grades, and I live with the weight of what I know. The charm has taught me things beyond what any textbook could, I can see the intentions behind people's smiles, the secrets they hide, the guilt they carry. Sometimes I wonder if this is my punishment or my gift. To see the truth that others can't. To carry the weight of the dead. I tell you this story not as a warning, though perhaps it should be. I tell it because the truth deserves to be told. Because Kemi and the others deserved to be remembered. Because desperation makes you do terrible things, but it doesn't have to destroy you. I learned that success built on someone else's suffering will always come back to haunt you, sometimes literally. And every day when I wake up and see the ghosts that others can't, I remember, some prices are too high to pay, and some deals should never be made. The charm still burns against my wrist, warm and alive, reminding me of the choice I made and the ones I still have to make. The dead are everywhere, and now I see them all. I just hope that when my time comes, I won't be one of them, trapped and desperate, searching for someone who can finally see me.